Hello team, today's challenge is food chain, where we're given an array of arrays, which is predator and prey mixes, so cat and mouse, wolf and deer, so on, etc., all the way down, and we need to make the best possible food chain out of this. We are guaranteed to only have one apex predator. The apex predator implies one, and it is the animal that is never prey to another animal. So there's not going to be any sort of looping in here. It's pretty linear, right? And then we have to return the chain as an array of strings, so not as an array of arrays, but we have to pull those strings out and get them in here, okay? With that, we're going to jump right in, and the first thing that I'm going to do is create a map. The map is going to be our source of truth as we iterate through this system, okay? So right here, I'm going to call it food map and set it to new map with the pairs. And this works because we're getting an array of arrays. The first part of each array is the key. The second part is the value, right? So that all works. Then I'm going to set up some sets. So we're going to have the pred set, the predators. That's going to be equal to new set. We're going to do not pairs, but food map dot keys, right? So we're getting those keys. And then, of course, the prey set. So taking this back, prey, just like this. That's going to be the values. And then we do something interesting. And this is still a little bit new, but it is supported in all current browsers, right? All the current ones. We're going to set up our chain, okay? And our chain is going to be the pred set dot difference with the prey set, okay? So just like that. Did I get it right? I absolutely did. And what this does, I have a spelling mistake. That's why I'm getting that little error. But what this does is it returns a brand new set that has all the unique items from pred set. So it basically goes through and says, and checks against prey set. If the thing in pred set exists in prey set, it gets rid of it, right? Leaving us with hopefully just one item. And for today, that absolutely works. The problem with this is a set, and I would really like chain to be an array, right? That's our array of strings, the final output. So right here, I'm going to wrap that in square brackets and expand it out, forcing this set to be an array, okay? And in fact, we can return that right here, chain, okay? The last part is to loop over and get our system in place. So for this, we use a while loop, and we check food map dot has. What should it have? Well, it should have chain dot at -1. So we're going to add stuff to chain, and we always want to peel off the last item. That's going to be our test to see if we have a key. That's what has is checking. If we have a key that is, this becomes the key. So chain at -1 becomes the key, and we check if that has a value inside of our food map, okay? A little bit confusing, but hopefully making sense. And from there, we use it again. So the first step is to set up current, because I want to do this. I want to use this in a couple places, sorry. So that's going to be chain at -1. Unfortunately, we couldn't do that ahead of time. Otherwise, current would always be stuck at the apex predator, right? With this, we want it to change every time it goes through loop. So it has to be inside, which is why we're doing it here, okay? And then we push. Dot push what? Well, we're going to get food map dot get current. And that's guaranteed to be in there because we checked it with that while loop, right? The while is kind of like an if statement as well. So in good shape there. And the last part of this is food map dot delete, okay? And we don't actually need this today, but I like adding it for the simple reason of what happens if we do have a looping food chain, where after all of it, maybe it gets all the way down to the grass and the bugs in the grass or the bacteria or whatever. And of course, that bacteria, what does the bacteria eat? Well, the bacteria eats dead animals, right? So it can go around in a loop, which means that we might have an endless time here. By deleting, we clear out values that we've already used, which ensures that at some point we have to leave the loop, okay? At which point it should work, and it absolutely does, okay? There are some problems with this though, okay? The The core problem being, what happens if we send through multiple apex predators? Well, we're only guaranteed to get one. As soon as we get more than one, our whole system breaks, right? Because it's going to have two apex predators at the top, but we're only ever going to peel off the last one, which may or may not have enough data to get this done, right? So there's a little bit of a thing in here with apex predators. Also, what happens if our pairs have multiple items or differences, right? Different branching logic. So if we go back here, maybe on number 4, we have this, where eagle is our apex predator, but maybe eagle eats foxes and eagle eats rabbits. I mean, in real life, they probably does, right? So that makes sense. Or maybe we have the fox eats rabbits, and maybe we have an extra item in here where fox eats voles, right? Voles are a small field mouse type thing, okay? So lots of options in here that could break our code the way that we have it set up. Luckily, we already have a system in place where we've done this before. And that is, if you're looking at this set right here is very similar to dominoes, right? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to line up the dominoes. So we have wolf on one side, deer on the other. Then we need a domino that has deer and something else, right? Down here, we have exactly that, hawk and snake. We need a snake domino from the set, so we get it. Then we need a frog domino from the set, and we get it, and we send it out the door, right? So these are just a fancy domino, right? Food chains are just fancy dominoes, at least the way that we're working on this code today. And we've done that here, right? So this is longest domino chain. Here we are, right? 1, 2, 4, 5, 2, 3. We went through, iterated on the thing, and we got the longest domino, right? Well, with that, we could use all this code. I'm not going to explain it today. I have a whole video on that, so definitely do that. Use a little bit of recursion, a little bit of fanciness to make sure that we're checking both sides of the domino, because with real dominoes, you can do that, right? It could be 2, 3, or it could be 3, 2, depending on how you flip the tile, right? But we could take all of this back to our code. So grabbing this right away, just doing that and creating a break so that we know where one ends and where one starts, and pasting all that in, okay? The only change that I'm going to make to this is right here. I'm going to comment out this line because we don't want to test both directions. It doesn't make sense to me that a cat would eat a mouse and a mouse would eat a cat, even though realistically, maybe that could happen. I don't know, right? But for today, we're going to assume that it's only one direction, only ever one direction, which means we shouldn't test the other direction. That's the only change I'm making to this, okay? With that, I need my function. So we're just going to grab this part here, bring it all the way down, pasting and closing, right? And then inside of here, we start again. So we get that chain. Where does that chain come from? Well, it comes from get longest chain. Okay, just like this. If I could spell, brilliant. And we pass in pairs because those are our tiles, okay? And then from here, we just return whatever that output is. So chain, but we need to remap the data to be flattened, right? So here we can use flat map, just like this. We get the, sure, let's call it tile. Tile seems like a good name, even though maybe just pair would be better. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Tile and index, okay? Just like this, sending it through. And what are we doing? Well, we're checking. The reason that we need index is we check if it's the first one, right? You know what? I am going to change this to pair just to keep it consistent. Pair, just like this. So return index. Sorry, if index is equal to 0, if it is the very first index, then we want both those values, the predator and the prey, okay? So we return, just like this, pair, right? We return it all. Otherwise, we return pair.at 1, right? We just return the index 1 position, right? And thankfully, flat map figures that all out. So it still works, okay? And this is the start of a stronger solution. I don't know if it's the whole solution. The code is quite busy inside of this function. So, and of course, we need to clean some stuff up, but it's a good start, right? And it protects against some of those things like multiple apex predators or multiple pathways. And all we're doing is getting the longest chain, which in this case is exactly what we want, right? That's what we're going for anyway. So this totally works, okay? With that, we have totally done it. So we started off assuming the happy path and played around with some maps and some sets. And we touched on difference, which is still pretty new, but supported in all browsers. And then we went through and built out our final output that we sent out the door, right? And then we talked about some of the challenges in there, right? Because there are. What happens if we have multiple apex predators? What happens if we have multiple paths, right? What is our expected result there? And for me, I made the assumption that our expected result should be the longest chain, right? Whatever the longest chain is, that's what we want to return. But maybe that's not entirely right. So again, conversations with your team if you're doing this professionally, right? For now, I did go with longest chain, which means that I pulled some code forward from the previous challenge, just cleaning out a single line here to make it all work, and then using that information right here, at which point all I needed to do was reduce it down to strings instead of arrays. And it works, right? That's the whole thing. Again, not every solution, just hopefully one or two good solutions. I feel like this is a pretty good system that we have going on here. But let me know, right? Let me know in the comments. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Which one did you like more, right? Or did you go a different way? Let me know all that good stuff in the comments. Otherwise, for today, this has been Food Chain, and I will see you in the next one.